The Overton Window, posthumously named after Joseph Overton's death, is a theory that all candidates for office, at least in the United States, have to run within a certain range of policies. A range that's called the Overton Window, a range between that extends from left to right. And if a candidate takes a policy position or expresses an opinion or a so-called truth that's to the left or to the right of this range, this limited range, they won't get the support. If you want support from voters, you have to stay within this range of policy positions. That's the Overton Window. It shifts not based on anything a politician or a candidate says, but it shifts to the left and it shifts to the right depending upon actions from grassroots activities. During the Civil Rights Movement, it shifted to the left. During the peace movement, the anti-war movement, it shifted to the left. And that scared the elites because they had a revolution on their hands. They were terrified, and they responded in a way that has, through their activities, mostly through corporations and corporate-funded think tanks, they have shifted the Overton Window to the right. The Tea Party movement shifted the Overton Window way to the right, and the Occupy Wall Street movement shifted it back to the left. Each congressional district might have a slightly different Overton Window, right? There are blue states that have one Overton Window. There are red states that have another Overton Window. Maybe they overlap. And how do you know what range of policies represent your congressional district? You might seek public polls if you're in doubt. If you can't find a poll, go to your opponent's website, especially if he or she is well funded, because they probably have money to do polling. They're not going to publicize the polling results, but go to your opponent's website, any opponent that is raising good amounts of money, go to their website and see where they stand on issues that you have questions about, because they've probably done the polling, and that's a cheap way for you to do polling. If you can afford your own polling, that's great too. Maybe you can have volunteers do a short poll of 500 people in your congressional district. But stay within the Overton Window in expression of opinions and in your policy recommendations. And what I'm going to say in the next video session is, if you need to fib, stretch the truth, tell a white lie, or a whopper or two, in order to stay within the Overton Window, get elected, pass Medicare for all, give people health care that they need, and save human lives, that makes higher ethical sense than committing yourself to only telling the truth, stomping around the outside of the Overton Window where voters won't support your opinions or your truths or your policy positions, losing the election, not getting Medicare for all, and seeing people die. That ethical conundrum above is yours. So in the next section, I'm going to make a more complete case of not just why. You know why we're making the case that candidates shouldn't always be completely honest. It's not the higher ethical position to take. Saving lives is the higher ethical position to take. One more point about the Overton Window. I almost forgot before I close this off. Normally, it's one range of policies. You got to operate somewhere in there. In 2016, something very interesting happened. The center gave out. We had two Overton Windows. We had one on the left for Bernie Sanders, and we had one on the right, which was filled by Donald Trump. The center gave out. And hopefully it stays that way. Because the progressive left, if they can ever get on the ballot and run a serious, well-funded campaign against the establishment and the more fascistic right represented by Trump, we'll have a progressive in the White House, assuming he or she stays within the Overton window. Thank you, and let's proceed to the next video.